Hey folks, MasakoX here. So, this is one of those types of stories which comes about on the back of a very basic premise. Had Goku landed in another part of the world, would he have had a different upbringing? Well, definitely. He would have wound up with other parents, more varied influences and stimuli. Basically, nothing like he would have had around Mount Paozu and with Grandpa Gohan. Kakarot grew up with Dr. Briefs and Bulma for company and relatives, and as a result, his mind was more geared toward the pursuit of engineering and mechanics. With his innate ability at martial arts and stronger genetics, and the fact that his adoptive sister still wants Dragon Balls, the path to defending Earth was almost as good as it was in the original, with the added bonus of his more superior technical mind and greater strategic prowess. In the last part, we had the arrival of Super Saiyan within this narrative. Frieza still had to deal with this menace after he had taken out the likes of Mark, Boxer's best friend and controller, after his heroic deed, plus the added and up to now unbeknownst malady of Zarbon and Dodoria, basically leaving his side and ultimately siding with the Dragon Team because it was convenient. Them having understood also that being with them would lead to their safety in the long run. They hoped. With everything sorted and Frieza down, things would start to correct themselves for the better. Another thing that corrects itself is Piano. After spending many parts and the majority of Z whining and complaining all the time about everything, Piano managed to find something for himself to do and to learn outside of Earth, and Piccolo and he were able to call a formal truce. They're cool now. But then, of course, we have to remember that King Cold is out there and is very keen to take out the people that had dared to wrong him and harm his baby boy. How will he get things going into the second half of DBZ? Well, let's resume, shall we, and find out how things could have gone down in this pivotal part of the plot. It's been a year and a half since Frieza had been defeated on Namek, and, quite frankly, the Earthlings were starting to worry about Boxer and his lack of an appearance or return. They'd heard nothing about his whereabouts. He hadn't bitten the dust though. King Kai had been sure to confirm that, since he had a soft spot for Boxer, more so than he had for Goku in the original. If that kiddo came through the door, I'd be on it. My car needs fixing again. Be that as it may, the Saiyan himself hadn't given them any other signs of life, though Long John and the others were sure that he was okay. They could feel it, and they also probably thought that he had a good explanation as to why he had been taking his sweet time. What was Boxer up to? And had Vegeta found him? If he had, might he have had something to say or something to hurl in Boxer's general direction? Namely his fist? It was hard to say. But Boxer wasn't the one to ghost them forever. Well, as soon as the former right and left hand men of Frieza decided to save their own skin, instead of going down with their former leader, they allowed the Saiyan to evacuate with them and ensure his safety. And to also have someone strong by their side in case, well, somebody saw them fleeing their leader's doom. An insurance policy, you could say. But do not think that they suddenly changed their ways. This is no what if Zarbon and Dodoria turned good story here. That'd be for another video. You see, this whole act of saving Boxer was a simple calculation on their part. Mostly Zarbon's part. This Saiyan was stronger than Frieza, and far less tyrannical, and if anyone could keep them safe, it would be him. There was no sentimentality or endearment towards this decision going on here. Boxer was a tool in their eyes. Not only that, but they could complete their own agendas with him at their side. But first and foremost, they needed to hide, as them surviving could make a certain monarch rather suspicious. Dodoria said it best, that they needed to wait until the heat was off before they could go about the galaxy with their new agenda. Yes, they explained to Bardock a thing or two about King Cold and how he could still be around. It'd be handy, possibly planning his revenge against the Saiyan too. Most likely going for Earth. Boxer would be, of course, naturally concerned about this, that his friends would be caught up in all of this, but the Pink Lady assured Boxer that if he followed their instructions and plan, that they could find a way to prevent Cold from getting to Earth. Possibly peg it on something else. In the meantime, though, just go along with their mission. Zarbon and Dodoria then were considering various places to hide, but they had discovered that a coded message had been sent to them beforehand. What was even weirder was that said message had been sent to them the very moment planet Namek exploded. This wasn't good. Not at all. Zarbon was extremely nervous. Had Cold rumbled them already? Had he had a scout ship looming over Namek's atmosphere for a long time, pinging any escaping ships that looked a bit odd? The Green Man was not keen on opening the message. This could have been a trap. Boxer had little nerves as to this topic. It turned out not to lead to a place after all within King Cole's influence because Boxer opened it anyway. Instead, it led them far away from Frieza space. And in fact, it was unlikely that King Cole had learned about them so quickly, given the location of this ping in the coded message. Was this actually a helpful thing from a friend of the Saiyan? Could it have been something else entirely? Hard to tell. But against their better judgment, they decided to investigate and follow the coded message. Said message actually ended up giving them coordinates to Yardrat. Zarbon was very much relieved. "These people are far from dangerous. They shall give us a good welcome." And indeed, they did. They were welcomed as guests, though understandably Zarbon and Dodoria were treated with caution, given their background, but they were still permitted to disembark. Dodoria tried to intimidate the locals into submission, but he was unsuccessful, as they could easily trick him back thanks to their techniques. Even though they had landed here safely, the group still didn't know exactly who had suggested that they should come here. But it seemed too much of a coincidence, seeing that the Yardratians offered Boxer a special kind of training as part of his stay here. They could tell he had a lot of potential. And obviously, he was the one that offed Frieza. Zarbon and Dodoria also tried to undergo this training, as it was something to do, but the latter failed miserably. In the breaks from the whole routine, Zarbon, Dodoria and Boxer talked about Cold and how he may have regrouped the Empire's forces in Frieza's stead in order to take his revenge. They also mentioned that Lord Frieza used to have a brother, but his location, as of now, was unknown. And then there were some people that were saying that Cool was off doing some sort of special assignment for their father, somewhere else in the depths of space, freed from scrutiny. Aside from these musings, the whole training took a rather long time. Boxer had managed to learn slightly more than the original Goku did, because he's smart. And Zarbon, however, was stuck at the instant transmission level. Still, it had its uses. With the tools that they had acquired here, the three of them had come up with a plan to stop Cold from getting to Earth. The plan itself was this: to confront King Cold directly and dethrone him before he even had a chance to get anywhere near Boxer's homeworld. If they had it their way, he wouldn't even make it to their own cluster. Zarbon and Dodoria would then take control over his forces and assume command. Since they were the seconds to Frieza, and therefore with the whole ranking situation in the Frieza force, it would assure their ascension and people listening to them, and thusly, they could leave Earth alone. Boxer of course didn't fully trust them, even now, despite having been with them for quite a long time, and could understand them better than ever. But he knew that the two of them genuinely respected his strength. That was true, and so, ultimately, he thought the two would go along with this. Now what about Frieza? Did he survive? Well, this all depended on how much of him had survived, and whether he was in any condition to mount an offensive, to defend his daddy. Well, okay, we shall tell you. Sure enough, he was very lucky to have not been submerged that deep into Namek's crust when the planet blew up, as he had been hurled out into the inky blackness of space inside a very massive chunk of the planet, embedded within it, acting like some kind of defensive shield of dirt left floating around. If he had been slightly deeper, towards the mantle, he probably would have been vaporized like everything else. And though he hadn't been cut in half, the damage done to his body looked more gruesome than it actually was. His skin had melted, leaving him with very nasty burns and cuts that would put Anakin Skywalker to shame. And just as in the original, King Cole did find his son, literally submerged within a piece of molten rock that had now cooled off thanks to the coldness of space. Cold temperatures, saving Frieza. Natural. Despite his amazing resilience, Frieza needed tons of medical attention, and a whole heap of cybernetic replacements for his burnt flesh and everything else just to survive. All of this had proved too much beyond his regenerative capabilities. The whole procedure took weeks to finalize, and when he finally came to his senses, he declared revenge on planet Earth. Zarbon and Dodoria had been correct. Meanwhile, back on Yardrat, the news of a huge Cold Force fleet heading toward planet Earth and that sector of space had gotten to the Triple Act. Another interesting tidbit that had come their way was connected to the fact that apparently the Cold Empire was dealing with another attack at the hands of a former member. most likely Vegeta. He decided to investigate that, and wouldn't you know it, he was able to sense Vegeta's power, as he was busy dismantling Sorbet's base of operations on Frieza planet 491. But despite this, Boxer managed to convince the prince that, for now, they had a common enemy, in the form of King Cold, and that he was heading toward Earth. They then showed the prince their new method of instant transportation, and thanks to Boxer's heightened senses, they were able to teleport to Earth there and then. There's none of that taking the slow route and dawdling and letting Trunks deal with things, but yeah, them turning up out of nowhere basically shocked everyone present at Turtle's 1000th birthday party. There was also a lot of rejoicing mixed in with that confusion, especially from Chi-Chi and Mark, but Boxer explained that after learning about the existence of King Cold, he did not want to risk his friend's safety. For the monarch to go to Earth, that was a big deal, because he was trying to find him. But the Saiyan sort of did that anyway. They had to defend on their own ground, on their terms. Now, the thing that our friends on Earth didn't know about was that, in this timeline, Cold decided to take with him some extra backup, bringing Cooler along for the ride. Frieza was aware that there were some traitors accompanying the monkey, and if the Saiyan had been that persuasive to do that, pull that off, that he caused a few of their most loyal people to desert them when they needed them most, that had previously never wavered their loyalty to him, it was probably better to have the whole family together to punish those annoying insurrectionists. And of course, they decided to send both the Ginyu Force and Cooler's armor squad with them. Because hey, they weren't even on Namek in this timeline, the Ginyus, so you gotta use them here. It seemed like they had strength in numbers, but Boxer and his friends were ready for them. What's even weirder is that on the very same day Cold's fleet started to attack Earth, a certain youngster, very surprised by the sheer power of the attack, joined the fray. He wielded a sword and was surprisingly capable with it. No, scratch that. He was surprised to see Zarbon and Dodoria fighting on their side, as well as Cooler being there. Something wasn't right here. He didn't recall any of these things or people being here, these things happening from where he had come from. But what shocked everyone else the most was that this newcomer just randomly turned into a Super Saiyan and was able to quickly take down Frieza, whilst Boxer was taking on King Cold. When Cooler realised that he needed to fight against two Super Saiyans now, who were at the moment dominating his father and baby brother, he started to think about a possible retreat. His fifth form might not have been enough for this. But before he could give his squadron the signal to leave, he was stopped by a third individual. An older human being, possibly, with one eye and a gruff beard, dressed in a long brown waistcoat. Cooler wanted to move this annoyance away, but the fighter was able to dominate him rather quickly, despite looking rather decrepit in comparison to the other two, leaving him no chance to escape. So when Boxer and the others killed Frieza and Cold, they were welcomed to the sight of a third unknown individual, just vaporizing Cooler casually. Both Boxer and the kid were bemused as to who this guy was. They couldn't quite place it, but Krillin and Piccolo knew who this guy was and were terrified, despite this person having saved them from Cooler's revenge. The pair of them recognized that individual as the man who had killed Boxer all those years ago, before Vegeta and Nappa had come to Earth. However, Boxer had spoken up for them, calling the old man out. "Hey you! Who are you?" Boxer glared at him, but the man seemed to be more interested in the time traveler. Trunks gasped when this unknown man looked at him. Was this some sort of guy from the Time Police? Had they found him? He'd only just got here. Without warning, this individual charged at him, causing Trunks to go on the defensive, having to resort to Super Saiyan just to keep himself treading water. But the man was stronger ultimately, as he was seen toying with the young boy. The same young boy, mind you, who'd just been toying with Frieza only minutes ago. Trunks decided to strike him with a sword, but the man caught the blade and broke it, much to the boy's shock. "That is just a pathetic toy," he said with a skillful punch, the man punching him out of the transformation. Then the old man glared at Boxer, who was getting ready to fight. "It may not look like it, but I am an ally. Just making sure that you are ready," Krillin yelled at the man. "Ready for what? You're about to kill Boxer again?" The man shrugged. Boxer was stunned. Now he recognized the man. This person was indeed the very same person that had offed him after they had taken Raditz away, and now he was back. To do it again? The old man looked unfazed by the accusations. I did that only so he would then train with King Kai and overcome Vegeta. I did what had to be done. He glared at the prince, who would probably try to charge at him had he not just seen this individual's overpowering of a Super Saiyan. What's your reason for being here anyway? Spill it, Boxer asked calmly. When the boy wakes up, he will explain. Had to take him down a peg or two. The dark times are coming, and we're both preparing you for something rather deadly. Boxer looked unmoved. Be more specific. Not right now, as my time here is extremely limited. The man looked at a small object on his finger. But when I manage to overcome this problem, then we'll talk. Who are you? The man raised his head, without a smile or any sense of friendliness. You can call me Nomad. And as such, the man disappeared into a strange vortex, leaving Trunks slowly returning to his senses. He could see that everyone was looking at him. All the friends of Boxer, and those soldiers of the Frieza Force who had just witnessed the 3 emperors being evaporated. Needless to say, Dodoria and Zarbon knew what they had to do. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. If you like this story where things weren't going so hot for Trunks, check out this story here, where he found a younger Bulma and, well, got a little mad with power. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!